What's up, guys? This is Acid Roots. I've got a Nickelback review, it was just kind of late. It's their Feed the Machine album, which came out in early summer, and this is the project that Nickelback was going to carry them through 2017. Now, this is one of my first song reviews that I did, and it stood to reason that they did a good job with that song, but then the subsequent album was a little bit different because it did not, it doesn't look like the promotion of this album. I don't really know how far it's going to go. In other words, like their second single, Song on Fire, kind of flubbed. It didn't really do that well. And it was the same thing with their third single, Must Be Nice. So both of these are not the Nickelback of the old, and it leads me to believe, is this one of the first times that they did not get an album that managed to chart. I don't even know if this album's going to go gold, but it's not so much I dislike it because I like what they're attempting to do. I mean, the songs that they do hit are, worthwhile. I would probably recommend just downloading them digitally, getting them that way, but the album just was not, I think Silver Side Up, all the right reasons, some of these projects, they wound up just completely dwarfing it. And the whole problem with it was uh I don't know, they have different types of styles. Like they can do alternative metal, post grunge, hard rock, heavy metal, some of these genres, but they don't do that this time. I mean, they really just kind of take a hard rock approach. A lot of the songs where you're actually going to hear like rough guitar instrumentation, it's not, they just don't bother with it. It's not heavy metal as much as it is hard rock. And the taste for that, I know that this is going to appeal to more of like the general consumer more so than a particular metalhead or a certain niche. So this is not like Metallica type stuff. This, it feels more like rock than metal, and that when you realize that, the approach to it is a little bit different than what I was willing to deal with at this time. I'm quickly realizing that I prefer metal to rock. And the thing is, the album is short, so it's 10 songs. They do throw some ballads on there and kind of somewhat weak alternative post grunge, but it, it really feels more like house cleaning music more so than something a rock band would spend the time with. So I'm gonna list a few of these songs for that example. Is like, I know the Song on Fire, they probably can do ballads, but it just doesn't. I mean, I think they've done it better in the past. And there's certain, most large bands can pull off a power ballad, but it just didn't. uh the band, even if the vocals were good on that song, the band just didn't have me interested on the song. uh there needed to be some sort of instruments to keep that stuff going. And the Betrayal Act 1, that is just an instrumental. And the Betrayal Act 3, uh, that one is actually more rock, but that was just another one that didn't really do it. So songs like Silent Majority and Every Time We're Together, they kind of pull off the softer approach. But, some of the rougher songs like Feed the Machine, this is the song that I was talking about. This kind of remains the best moment. I think this is the song that you're going to hear the most off the album on the radio, and it pretty much is the best moment. Coin for the Ferryman, the second song you're going to hear, takes this approach, but it's really kind of treading the line between metal and rock. And I don't know, there's just something about it. I mean, it just feels more like when Nickelback does hard rock, that it somehow just doesn't have the right feel to it. I mean, if you want those sorts of bands, you turn to someone like Pantera, or some of these type bands. I know I can't name them all because I just don't listen to it that heavily, but there's like ZZ Top and some of these groups from the past. It just feels like we're trying to bring some of that style back. But I mean, metal is clearly, well, I guess it's just a matter of opinion. So this feels like a discussion that a lot of people have, like, oh, which one's better, rock or metal? But Nickelback apparently can do both, but they don't really do heavy metal. It's just they do alternative metal, but then they, considering they did that, it's kind of, I mean, I don't know what direction they're going to go in. That was the problem I had with All the Right Reasons when I reviewed that, was because I was used to, at the time, when I reviewed Silver Side Up, I was used to that. So when I went into All the Right Reasons, I was expecting that same thing. But by that point, that diamond selling album, which means 10 million sold in the United States, they were doing commercial rock, pop rock, that sort of stuff. So I just didn't have appreciation. It just feels like this time now it's just hard rock, which doesn't really have a designation. So, this is a matter of how much you wind up liking the music here. So, but, I did listen through the album, and I was just trying to figure out what exactly I was going to mess with on this project. Now, I think really I'm spoiled on Marilyn Manson, and I think that's the thing. After listening to him, it's hard for me to cool my jets. And I think that's the biggest problem. Is I've just, I listen to him on Spotify rather often. Now going back, it's just hard to do that. I mean, I still appreciate a good song by them, but I don't, if I would have paid attention to Song on Fire when it dropped in April, I don't know what I would have said about it. I mean, because I kind of took a break during that time, and I'm just unaware, what I would have thought of that second single. But, so yeah, the 4 songs that you need to hear, basically there's 10 songs minus the Betrayal Act 1. The 4 songs I'd recommend to you are Feed the Machine, Coin for the Ferryman, Must Be Nice, the third single, which is the second rock single, and then For the River. Now, all of these, like I said, these really sound like something you would have heard out of like some biker club or something like that, but some diner, some stuff like that, dirt roads kind of stuff. But I know Nickelback can do southern rock, but the whole thing is they need to do metal. I mean, that sort of thing. They're skilled at it, and it's apparent. So I do think if they're going to make an album that short, that they need to divvy up the sections that they want to do. So, really the only alternative metal song is Feed the Machine, and maybe the Betrayal Act 3. But yeah, so subscribe for more fun. And basically, I give this album, I'm just going to give it a 3 out of 10. I mean, it has songs, but it's really pushing the limits there. So, yeah, and, the social score, which means how well it plays around your friends. I don't know how many songs you're going to hear on the radio. I mean, if the promotion on this album is not wrapped up, I'm surprised. I'm going to be surprised at what album they choose for the next single. So, don't really know. It's a question mark, but so I'll just give that a 2. So, I mean, it's Nickelback. It's Nickelback. They can get radio songs, but they just had shortcomings this time. So,